whatever. We're really good at this.
That's like Sports Center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I only know I think I made it a little bit too, like, orchestra-y.
No. I think... It doesn't matter.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of your two Delulu girls here, just making their way through the world.
It's October 1st.
Oh my gosh. Happy October.
Happy October
1st. There's actually a lot happening this week. I think Taylor Swift drops her album.
What day?
The 3rd.
Okay.
I think I remember that because it was in relation to the Mean Girls quote where she's like, what day is it? It's October 3rd. Anyway, so, and then I think that's it. Also, yeah, just like the start of October.
Well, we have a new aesthetic for the podcast because it's October. So Ellie went and got Halloween decorations and it looks really good.
I'll give you guys an update. I only put one thing up and I'm like obsessed with it.
You don't want to say what it is.
It's a huge ass spider. Did I say that on my fall things? No, because I don't think I bought anything yet.
Yeah.
Well, I got this large floaty leg spider thing that's over the television and I literally just put it up and I'm obsessed. I'm like taking pictures and playing with it and keep walking by and just like,
It looks really good.
I'm glad the dog isn't scared of it anymore.
Yeah, I was a little nervous she wasn't gonna go in the room.
Oh gosh. Yeah, well, let's get started. Our 10 and 10 is our football teams. And I feel like we've kind of talked about this before, but guess what? It happens every year. And every year you guys get to talk about football, so every year we get to talk about football. So we're going to choose our 5 teams that we would want to go with for whatever reason that we want to go with them. And then we're going to do like a little wheel so it tells us what our actual team is.
Yeah, because we don't get a pick for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I did. So last year I picked the Buffalo Bills. And did I watch a single game with them? No. Maybe a clip or two. But they're my number 1 pick again this year. We'll try again. Maybe.
Yeah, I love that. I think they're good. I don't know. Miami Dolphins for my dad and the colors. They're just so bright and fun.
The blue and the orange.
Yeah, but they suck. So
really?
Yeah, but that's okay. We're here for the fun.
I picked the LA Rams. I know LA has 2 teams, but I didn't want to pick the Chargers because they should come back to San Diego. So the closest team to us, I'm going to say, is the Rams, and that's who I'm picking.
I love that.
Local.
I am doing the Philadelphia Eagles because I feel like everybody I know and everywhere I go, everyone says go Birds, and I just want to be a part of something. I just want to be a part.
Want to be included.
I want to be able to say that. They're always like spelling it out and screaming it. There's like a sports bar right where I work, and every time I pass by, there's always some sort of chant and screaming and
yeah, there's a lot of Eagles fans here.
I know,
it's kind of crazy.
So I want to do that.
Yeah,
and I like those. I think I look good in green. So.
Yeah, is that no?
This is green. Yes.
That's green. Okay,
we're doing well.
I picked the New England Patriots. That is my dad's team, and I feel like if I'm gonna jump on a bandwagon, I would jump on a family bandwagon.
Smart. The Carolina Panthers because their panther looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the blue and black.
Yeah, and it's like a fun blue.
I picked the Atlanta Falcons, because I also like the black, because they have all black uniforms with the red, and I feel like that looks intimidating and hot.
2 different paths. Carolina, though, does that mean both Carolinas?
I think it's North Carolina.
Oh, I really did my homework. 49ers, obviously. I mean, Bay Area, San Francisco, my family, like my aunts and stuff. So I'll choose one close to home. Plus, Colin Kaepernick, I feel like I grew up with his name like in the household, all of the news. I'm like, yeah, they kicked him off, but I like the team. I think.
I also picked a hometown team for my last one. I picked the Raiders, which are now in Vegas, but they used to be in Oakland, and I feel like my aunt loved the Raiders, and she was the first one in Nevada to get the Raiders license plate when you could get like the Raiders license plate. But she was like an OG Oakland Raiders fan, and
Oh yeah, they're
Might
in
as
Las
well.
Vegas
Now they're in
now.
Vegas.
Why did they do that? Money?
I think so. Vegas is just like buying sports teams and bringing them down or over wherever.
Bringing them down.
I would really love to see the Golden Knights, like a hockey game there. I hear it's like a show.
Oh.
Like it's like, you know, the Vegas show experience. And hockey is also so fun.
I've never done a hockey game before.
I've only done college hockey game, and it was really fun.
I just feel just like the aggressiveness and like the impacts. I'm just like, wow. And ice, it's like figure skating.
I know, it's crazy. Talented.
And then my last one is the Seahawks. I feel like a lot of the people I don't like know why I have to, you know, but I just want to explain. I knew a lot of people that were Seahawks fans, and I like it up there. Seattle's fun.
Yeah.
So choosing
Also
them.
good colors.
Also good colors, yeah.
Blue and green and white.
Blue and green.
Okay, so now we're going to spin. Did you do spinthewheel.app? Is that the one you found?
Let me see. Spin the wheel. Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
3, 2, 1.
Oh. Doesn't know how to count.
Wait.
Jacksonville Jaguars? Like the guy from freaking... Oh my god.
I got the
Alright.
Arizona Cardinals.
I'm
So
gonna do it again.
we hate our team.
I hate my team.
Let's do. We get 3 tries to find one that we like.
Oh,
The Bengals. I could do the Bengals.
this is Oakland Raiders. Clearly they're not up to date, but I could do that.
Yeah.
I like black and silver.
All right.
All right.
So that's what we're doing.
Good thing we know so much about football.
Good thing we watch it so frequently.
It came on the Roku thing today when I was watching TV as I was turning on music, and I'm like, oh, like live show. And then I was like, should we watch football? Nope.
YouTube music.
Absolutely not. I'm really excited for today's episode. I know you're going to give like your background on how it came up, but I feel like I have a lot of stories and things that have happened recently around this topic. So let's dive in if you want to explain.
Yeah. I won't shut up about my therapist, and this is a handout that she sent me after one of our sessions, and it's characteristics of passive, assertive, and aggressive problem solving. And one of the things that I'm working on in therapy is my boundary setting abilities and like actually saying what I want and what I need in settings and not being like upset after the fact or starting to build resentment when I didn't get what I wanted or needed. But I also didn't say literally anything because I tend to take a very passive approach, I think, a lot of times because I don't want to rock the boat. And I have so many thoughts too, but one thing came up in the last session because I was like, there's a few people in my life that I think set boundaries really well, and I notice sometimes I get like defensive when they do, which is my own problem because I take it personally when they're like, I want to see you, I'm not gonna stay out late, so like I'm gonna be leaving by this time. Why is that? Literally, I don't want to stay out late either. But then in my mind, I'm like, I never said you have to. So that's where I go. Luckily, I hold my tongue. These are all thoughts going through my brain. But it's like, why is that my first reaction when they're just letting me know what they need, not being aggressive about it? And I think one thing that is, I look at this a lot because it says aggressiveness is standing up for what you want regardless of the rights and feelings of others. Assertiveness is thinking and acting in ways that stand up for legitimate personal rights. And it's like, that's their right that they want to go home. That doesn't impact me. That's totally fine. And I think that it's been hard for me to like shift my thinking a little bit, that like being assertive is okay. And it's not synonymous with aggressiveness. And you need to have assertiveness if you're gonna have any boundaries. That's my spiel.
No, I spiel.
No,
No, I love that. When I look at that like form or whatever, the first thing that came is like, one, where do I fit in the box? And then even just hearing you talk right now, and my mom say this so much, and I don't know exactly where we got it from, but this quote came to my mind of like, I am not responsible for how other people feel. And so I'm like reading this and trying to put myself, I think sometimes I really either fall on like the very, very passive side or the very, very aggressive side, unfortunately, and like trying to figure out. And I completely relate to what you're saying of when I end up taking a more passive role for the sake of the group, for whatever, any situation of just like, I don't, exactly what you said, I don't want to rock the boat. And then another person is just being assertive with their boundaries, with their guidelines, with whatever, wherever they're coming from. All of a sudden, I take it into, like, to heart, basically. And now I'm, like, frustrated with how they think, basically just caring so much about what other people think in that situation, so much so that I fall way back into being in this, like, passive aggressive. Yeah, because then even when it comes to like decision making, any kind of argument or any type of situation in which these things come up, I spiral out of control because I'm already assuming what other people are going to say instead of just being assertive in how I feel, and also remembering that like it's none of my business what you think. Like you do you, I need to focus on me. And I think that's what this whole forum is trying to say, or like even just this whole conversation and dialogue. And that just came up so much while I was thinking about this, because I'm like, all right, I do find myself sometimes to be passive in certain situations. I think it definitely depends on the group, but I'm just thinking in terms of having like a difficult conversation or just engaging with people, like I'll be passive until I can't anymore, and then I become aggressive. And it's like, one, where's that line? And two, like, why can't I just say how I feel in the beginning of whatever it is, so that I can be happy and lay down the line and just live my life and be in charge of myself, instead of being so fucking worried about what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is thinking of me, what they're thinking of their own lives, what they're thinking of the people I'm with. Like the list goes on and on and on, and it almost like inhibits me from doing anything, any decision, having any conversation. And I think that's where like I look at the assertive column or whatever, and just basically, yeah, like making decisions based on you, like what is best for me, what is best for my life and my path and my boundaries, and how to come across that. Like, why is that so difficult for me to do? And it's because I'm so concerned about what other people think. And again, like I bring this up, I think every fucking time we sit down and record, but it's so relevant to me and my life right now, is like, why do I care so much about what people think? And that's that.
Yeah. I feel like it's not that I don't care what other people think, it's that I just don't want to like cause, like, I don't want them to be upset or unhappy or something. And I think it's so true what you're saying of like, you cannot control how other people think or feel, and you ultimately have to do what's best for you, because you're literally the only person living your life. And I think when it comes to, just for the sake of conversation, like boundary setting, one thing that I think I struggle with is assuming how they're going to react, one, when I say what I need or what my boundary is, which is like not helpful at all for me to assume that. And secondly, it's like, I don't know why this didn't click for me until recently, but it's like, it's not their responsibility to make sure that I uphold the boundary that I'm saying that I need. Like, if I say, hey, yes, I want to, I'm just using this, like, stupid example, but, like, hey, yes, I want to go out with you guys. I need to be back home by 10 tonight because I have a lot I want to get done tomorrow. Whatever. That's not their responsibility to make sure that I get home at 10.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go, and then they're not respecting my boundary and they're, like, pressuring me to do more or whatever, that is different than, like, okay, I know the time, I know what I want, and I'm gonna leave. Great. Like, that, if that bothers them, that's their problem, but it's also not their responsibility to make sure that I do what I'm saying that I need. Like, that's ultimately on me, on Google, it literally says, what are the 3 C's of assertive communication? Clear, confident, and controlled. So if I'm not confident in what I'm even saying, if I'm not articulating it well, and if I'm not like resolute and maybe assertive in what I'm saying, then how is anyone going to respect, or they're going to be like, okay.
Literally. Oh my gosh, yeah. That confidence piece. I mean, like, even in this example, it says, this is in the passive column where it says, rights of others are viewed as superior to yours. Like, I feel that, and that's so relatable because of that confidence piece. Like, why is it so easy for me to place everybody else's values, their needs, their boundaries, whatever they say, even with your example of going out, like, I hear that and like their needs go way above mine when it's like, again, this kind of theme that I'm seeing in my life of like when you lack that confidence, which that makes so much sense that it's in the 3 C's, because when you lack that confidence, you are putting everybody else, above you. Like, I'm putting their needs above my own, and that's going to lead to a very passive life. Whereas I sometimes see it so black and white where it's like, if I don't do it, then I'm saying that I'm better and I'm now superior to you rather than inferior. And that's where it is. And it's like, whoa, that is not, like, there is something in the middle.
Equal,
yeah.
Our rights are equal.
Why can't I view it like that, or take that, stance, or have that, what you were just saying of like, make that clear to others, but also make it clear to myself. Like, when I do say something or say a boundary, whether it is something as simple as like, no, I do want to go home at this time, to something even more deeper, like having an argument, or not even an argument, but just having like a tough conversation with someone. It's like, I either go way, way, way into like, no, now my feelings are above yours, or I'm like, shit, like your feelings are above mine. And it just is like difficult to navigate.
I think like I feel very similarly, and when someone is being assertive in what they think or feel, it's hard not to, this is my own like thing I need to work through, because it's hard not to be like, do you even care about what I want? But I'm like, Erica, fucking speak up. Like, they're just saying what they want or what they need, and so why can't I say what I want or need, and maybe we can find compromise, or maybe it's like, this is the thing where we both need different things, and that's fine. But like, they can't guess or make decisions for me when I don't say anything. And that is another thing on this chart, is saying for the passive, let's the other person guess how you think and feel. That's like not a fun game, because you guess wrong, and then I'm upset, and then I'm not going to tell you what I want.
Yeah. How do you even...
How can anyone even like grow or have a relationship with you? Like, not even just saying like intimate relationship, but like any relationship with you, if you don't ever express how you think or feel about something.
Yeah.
It also just seems like, I think this is when I can get really hard on myself, because I think sometimes I just don't even like speak up at all, and then I'm like, how boring that like I'm not contributing at all to anything, because I'm not ever being like, yeah, like that sounds fun, or I'd rather do this, or whatever. I'm just like a person along for the ride.
Yeah. But that's funny that you say that, and I know that you can relate, because we've said this multiple times, is I feel that way so deeply, that like very similar, but then I'm with a group of people and someone is assertive, and I appreciate that so much, and it adds dynamic, and I almost become like envious. I am envious of them. Like, even if it's just an open dialogue, like my, thinking right now of just like, all right, imagine you're with your group of friends and you're all having a conversation and all discussing opinions. And sometimes it's like, I have so much lack of confidence in myself that I am afraid to voice any opinion. And it kind of just ties into like the not wanting to rock the boat, or, not feeling confident and being able to clearly state whatever I want to state, even if it's just like a regular conversation. And then another friend of mine will be like, oh, actually, I disagree, yada, yada. Like, automatically, and we'll get into why this is, but I automatically in my mind kind of like, oh shit, like, is this going to be a thing? And then all of a sudden, like, the whole conversations blossoms into this new conversation. Like, there's that respect for that person for saying whatever it is. And then also, like, I didn't know that about you. You shared something or whatever. Thanks for following along on my train of thought here. But it's like, I am in awe of them in that moment, because I'm like, what I maybe would have thought in my mind would have been like an aggressive statement or
which is
whatever,
like forcing someone to think the same way that you think,
right? That I'm like, oh, I can't say that, or I can't clearly express how I feel in whatever conversation this is because of my lack of confidence or whatever. So I'm just gonna go and not contribute. And exactly what you said, like, how boring, what, who wants to talk with you? You're doing that,
Yeah.
And then I hear other people do that, and it's really like it's awesome, and I wish that I could do that more. But then again, the other piece that kind of ties into that, and as I was thinking of like how much of this is how like we grew up and how like conversations at home were being like, I don't know, like dialogue like that. And I even think back to just like hard conversations with parents. And I think a lot of the time growing up, there was really no assertiveness. It was really either like very, very passive or very, very aggressive. Thankfully, like not too much like passive aggressiveness, but you can like those things get real, like can get blurry really, really quick. And then it's all like left into interpretation. And that is really hard to grow out of if that's all you know. And I think sometimes this like fear that I have of like, I can clearly recognize in a moment where someone will say something, and it happens quite often, and at least now I'm able to recognize it, where someone will say something. Again, I don't have like a great example, but will share a thought, a view that differs from like the rest of the group, or can be a little bit out there, or not what maybe people were expecting, and I'm like, ooh, like about to be an issue, and it like 9 times out of 10 is never an issue, and I think that just like really trips me up, and like I can't quite figure out why. I mean, like I'm figuring out why as we speak, but it's just like interesting how that happens, and it's interesting how many times that I can like clearly physically in my body feel like shit, this is an aggressive statement, when in fact it's not, it's assertive. And then all of a sudden like people recognize that because it's confident, it's clear, and whatever the other one was.
Clear, confident, and
cohesive, controlled.
Yeah, an emotional or aggressive reaction can undermine your message. Like, controlled involves maintaining composure, staying calm, and managing your emotions even when the decision is difficult. Or
Cool.
discussion is difficult.
So how do I do that?
Well, I mean, you bring up, like, how you were raised, and fully. That's, like, especially in religion, I think women are taught to be, like, meek and humble. And I don't think, like, humility is not a bad thing, but I think it's often, like, okay, the opposite of humility is like a big ego and you're cocky, and that's what I immediately associate with someone who is aggressive, and that's true, but it's like assertiveness is different. It is that like confidence piece and being able to differentiate, which you can, because it's like even in your example when someone's like, well, I don't feel the same way, they're not like, you're wrong and I'm right and here's why. It's like, I don't feel that way. This is what I think, actually, blah, 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 blah. And they're saying it confidently. And it is hard, I think, for that example specifically, for me to contribute to, like, I don't know, political conversations or something when I don't feel, like, so confident in my, like, knowledge of the topic. So a lot of times I just shut up. But I think one thing for me, and I'm thinking in, like, a dating situation. So it says passive, hopes for favors and services, but never asks. Assertive, requests favors and services. Aggressive, demands favors and services. And I think to my last relationship, where he would be like, hey, can you scratch my back? Or like, hey, can you whatever? And I would be like, in my mind, I'm like, well, why don't you ever do that for me? Or like, why don't, and it's like, Erica, because you just hope for it. You literally never say that that's what you want, or that, like, in the moments where I'm like, that sounds nice, I don't say anything.
Yeah.
And then I just get, like, upset that, I guess it goes back to, like, guessing how I'm hoping, or how I'm thinking and feeling. It's like, again, that's not a fun game. That's not, like, it just feels immature to me. And I don't want to be that way, because I'm almost 30 years old, and I'm like, I was asking my therapist, I'm like, how do I, like, fix this for me? How do I fix this? And she was like, you literally just have to do it. Like, you just have to practice. You have to, like, start with something small. Like, saying, I keep giving, like, the time I want to go home. Because that does happen sometimes where I'm like, I have a lot I want to do the next day. Like, things that I'm, like, looking forward to. And I know if I get home early, I'll be fine and I can do them. But instead of, one, saying to the people I'm going out with, that's what I need, and then two, actually doing those things, because, again, it's not their responsibility, I don't do either, and then I'm upset the next day when I don't, and it's just, like, this whole thing. And that's so small to me, for me to be able to say, yeah, I want to go out, like, I do need to leave by 10, and then I actually do it, and then I have a great night out, and then I come home and have a great day the next day. But you just have to, like, it's not just going to change. And I think that's what's hard for me, because it's like, especially with how we were brought up, whatever our different things is, it's like, well, that was 18 years of our life.
Yeah.
So how can I just think that the switch is going to flip and I'm going to suddenly have this skill that I didn't develop for 18 years?
Truly. I always go back to that. Remember when we started our episode and it was like when we were obsessed with Substack and that stoicism quote came up that was like, you can only blame all your problems on your growing up until you get to a certain point. Like, I think about that constantly. Cause fuck, like, I really can't just be like,
it's how I was raised.
Like, I do need to actively, like, do something about it. And I think, like, seeing this and kind of looking at it more as, like, a dating perspective, like, in dating, I find that because of my lack of confidence and me being in that more, like, passive column, like, the people that are close to me, like, I know that my sisters listening to this are going to immediately text me and be like, bah, you passive? Like, the fuck? And I think it's because, like, when I'm around people that I'm very confident with, or it's a small group, like, I feel like it's a lot easier, like, for example, like, for me and you to have a conversation and us clearly establish boundaries, like, it's definitely been a lot easier since living together and, like, learning and everything, like, just more about how we act, not when we're, like, 16. So, you know, there's that. But then, you know, dating, like, it is outside of, like, obviously I want to be able to come across and have a good conversation. I just kind of mean, like, not a first date. Like, literally, we've kind of gotten to know each other. There's an established a little bit of a relationship. I end up taking a little bit more of a passive role until, like, something snaps in my brain. And I think we've all been there where it's like exactly of that example. You just keep hoping and hoping something will happen. They'll figure it out, even though I haven't said anything, not used a lick of English or any language for that matter.
Or if I have said something, it is the most passive aggressive.
Yeah.
It is not clear at all what I'm asking.
Oh no, it's like a puzzle piece. Like, you didn't take this from this and this and this to figure out that I wanted you to scratch my back. Rude. Until something, like, snaps for me, and then I become aggressive, and I think it gets a little confusing sometimes for the people that I am interested in, and it gets confusing for me, and it's something that I'm trying to work on actively, especially when it comes to dating, is, like, I have this fear of not being my true self because I don't know you well enough. I don't know you well enough to have these assertive conversations. And so I feel like it's easier for me just to kind of roll with the punches and just, like, let things go so that I can be the cool girl. But in reality, it's like, I'm not dating you for funsies. Like, it is fun, but, like, in my mind, like, I am looking for a life partner. Like, I am looking for a longer relationship. And also, like, it comes with that confidence piece. Like, this is who I am. So the sooner I can just practice some of these more, like, assertive I don't even know, like words, language, just conversations, whatever, the more, kind of to your point of like, the more you practice, the easier it'll get. I think the more that confidence piece will play in. I think it's just hard, specifically for dating. How I feel is like, this is bad, but I'm like, I gotcha. Like, I don't want to lose ya. Like, I don't want to be crazy. This has happened before, but I'm like, if this is what it takes and you end up leaving, then it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a huge piece, I think, in dating is this fear or whatever it is that you resort to this passive behavior because you don't want to rock the boat. You're honestly maybe even like scared of how they would react if you actually said what you wanted. And it's like, obviously, outside looking in, why would you want to be in a relationship like that? But I get it when you're like in a relationship and you're like, do I want to go back to being single? Because that wasn't the best. But it's like, but then I could do what I wanted when I wanted, and I wasn't like living in this weird state where I'm not doing the things that I want or not speaking about the things that I want. But the problem, I think, is when you don't even give them a chance, like you don't even give them a chance to see how they would react. And that's my issue. I'm like, okay, well, I never spoke up. You never knew what I was thinking in my brain because I never said anything. And I'm not going to give you a chance to even see how you would react if I told you.
It's a fun little game we like to play.
We're breaking up. It's like, well, that was, yeah, literally. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't know. And maybe they would have reacted poorly, and then that would have, like, cemented the decision to break up. Or maybe they wouldn't have, and we could have actually grown together. I don't know.
I think it's just the past few years, everybody has just really trying to stay comfortable in the world, in life, in friendships, in relationships, and everything. Like, I will speak for myself and just say, like, I'm trying to actively find things that make me feel comfortable. I want to watch something fun and comfortable. I want to read something fun. I want to surround myself so that I can feel okay, because it's not feeling okay, and it hasn't felt okay for a while, just like in general. So that's great. But the problem is like, you only grow, you only meet new people, you only become a better person if you're outside of your comfort zone. Like, a little bit uncomfortable is how you get better. And I know that, but it's so hard to like actively put myself in uncomfortable positions. Like, even when I'm surrounded by people that are gonna support me or love me no matter what, that's a perfect opportunity for me to practice being a little bit uncomfortable, saying something that I wouldn't normally say, or like sharing a view or whatever. And even in dating, sometimes it's like, just like what I said, it's like, shit, like, I gotcha. I don't really know how to be uncomfortable because I'm already like a little uncomfortable dating. So now, like, we're here and things are good. Like, why do I want to bring up this really hard conversation? And it's like kind of a battle that I find I have a lot, especially just around this conversation, is just being okay with just being a little bit uncomfortable. You don't need to be unsafe or mean or aggressive or whatever. It's just understanding that, like, just as you were saying that, my thought was like, all right, you know, you're with someone for a while, you've established a relationship, but now it's, you know, time to have a harder conversation. And this goes with like friendships too, of like, sometimes those conversations are going to be hard, they're going to happen, and you have to be able to respect where they're coming from and hope that they respect where you're coming from. And I think that's sometimes where I don't want to be assertive, is because I'm jumping 1,000 steps ahead, and I'm like, oh, well, if I say this, they're going to react this way, and then, you know, they're not going to hear me out. And so, you know what, it's best like not to say anything. And it's like, well, maybe they won't see where you're coming from, or maybe you won't see where they're coming from, but that's the whole point of a conversation, is that you're supposed to converse, and it's not just going to be this like, all right, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and you're going to say what you're going to say, and then we're we're done. It's
Yeah.
like actually engaging in a conversation and getting through this like uncomfortable, sticky situation to get towards the end. And sometimes that doesn't even last a day or
Yeah.
a night. Like sometimes those conversations can last a while, and that's where I get fearful, because then I'm like, if it's not already automatically fixed, I feel like I need to start taking that aggressive tone, aggressive language, aggressive stance, where in like some of these examples, whoa, like lets other person know how you think and feel. Just you're basically just talking with the understanding of like, you know, still loving and respectfully, but just like, this is my boundary, this is how I feel. And it's just really difficult because sometimes those lines can be blurred, and those lines were blurred growing up. It like a Latin family can sometimes be a little aggressive, and that can be difficult to navigate how to have a normal conversation. And it's like, again, in this like world that we live in, I find myself like, well, why would I even want to put myself or that other person that I love and respect in an uncomfortable position where I can just be like, it's fine. But in reality, it's like, well,
But then it's taking up so much of your brain space.
constantly.
Weeks, months, maybe even years. And
Years.
it's like, if we would have just had the uncomfortable conversation, oh my God, how much time, how much energy for my life would I have saved? And also,
Truly.
like, 9 times out of 10, it's like this relief that comes when you're like, oh, like, I built that up so much bigger than it needed to be because I just wouldn't, like, I was so scared or whatever the emotion is to, like, cause, discomfort. I think that's so accurate. It's like, we're comfortable how things are, let's not change it up.
Yeah.
No,
No, we're not changing.
It's like, but I'm actually not comfortable because I'm only thinking about the thing that I'm not speaking about.
Yeah. I think exactly to your point too, just like this feminine urge just to like, you know, we talked about before, like whether we step into like our feminine energy and masculine energy. Yeah, I know I'm like boob sweat is crazy.
So
But it's like, you know, navigating that while also realizing that a feminine energy doesn't mean you have to be aggressive. Assertive is hot, assertive is sexy, and assertive is like respectful to yourself and to others, and trying to, you know, remember that as well. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
Well, one thing I think that if you think of it, please interrupt me, but with the topic of bringing up things that are maybe bothering you that you know are going to probably cause like an argument or something, like there's going to be more emotion involved. And I think what is interesting to me is passive is problems are avoided, assertive the problem is attacked, and aggressive the person is attacked. And I think that is like such a big thing for me, is like I'm scared that I'm gonna get attacked or whatever for bringing this up, and it's like, well, then they have their own issues they need to work through, because the problem isn't me or you, it's whatever the problem is. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I want to figure it out. And I think that is like, hey, this situation, this thing, whatever this is, isn't working for me, and I want to find a solution for it. And that's like clear, confident, whatever, controlled, and let's talk about it, versus like, you always do this thing, you are really annoying, and you like, I don't know, you need to change. I think that is like, okay, well then fuck you, like I don't want to have a conversation. And it's your own, like, I think I can go from avoiding to attacking the person.
Yes.
Because I've just built it up in my head for so long, and I'm like, you are the issue, when that's not actually what it is.
I'm glad you brought that up, because even in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is all great information, but like what language do I use? And not that I have a list or an idea, but just using that example of even just changing the language, even if the first thing I want to say is you are annoying, because maybe they are being fucking annoying right now, but probably because you didn't speak up before. It's like changing the language to be like, okay, what is your actual issue, and just inserting that into whenever you want to be mean or negative towards that other person or whatever it is. And I think that is really even helpful for me just hearing that be says like it is the problem and that is what you have an issue with, and just continue to revert back to that. But what I was thinking before is my issue is sometimes the person on the podcast, get very like mixed up with my words, very jumbled. My brain is moving a million miles an hour. I feel one thing and I don't know how to like correctly say how, or clearly say how I'm feeling or what's going on in my brain. And so sometimes I let that be an excuse for me not to like speak up. Or I also use that an excuse on like why I'm being so aggressive in a situation is because I just get so angry almost always at myself, because I'm like, why can't you just like, you had it all formed correctly up in here, why can't it just translate? Why? But I think, you know, giving myself grace and even using that part of the language too is just like, I'm really trying to tell you how I feel. It's going to take me a second to get through how I feel, like just hang in there. And I can tell you how many times I've started a hard conversation like that. It's 0. So, so I'm like, I can try that and just maybe that be how I clearly express how I feel, because it gets so hard for me because I just get so, I don't do it enough. I don't practice this behavior enough. So when it does happen to come up, because it's the world and that we're all humans and it happens, I don't know what to say or how to say it. So I just get jumbled and then mean, and then here we are. And I just am over that. So again, like what you were saying is, yeah, practice will make it better. But also for me and people that relate to that, of just even being truthful of, if you can't, if the words may be jumbled, but if you can be clear and calm, maybe the rest will follow. And then that is a great place to start.
Yeah, I think if you know you're gonna go into a situation where there are like certain boundaries, things, whatever it is that you want to talk about or need to communicate, like what I just did is I literally wrote them down. We talked about it and I wrote them down, and it's like, rather than me thinking like, oh yeah, that would be nice, or like, I don't know, hindsight always is 20/20, and I'm like, I wish I would have said this thing, and yeah, sure, maybe I would still feel that way. But if I already know I'm going to be going into a situation where I want to be able to like articulate what I need from it, I think, yeah, writing it down is helpful. And also just, you could fucking read it. Like, you could be like, I have some things I need to say. And then read the things you wrote. Because I do think every time I think I have something in my brain that I know I'm going to say, I don't say it. How I thought I was going to say it, how I wanted to say it.
Never happens.
So sometimes you just have to write it down.
Yeah.
And I do think it's good to think about what you need in situations when you're not used to expressing that. Like, I do think it's helpful to be like, okay, I'm going into, I just keep referring to like a late night with friends. What do I want out of this? Like, I want to go to the first bar. I want to have one drink. I want to, I don't know, go home after. And it's like, okay, then that's what I'm going to do. And like, you think about it before it's 2 a.m. and you're like, damn, I wish I would have thought about this before I did this, you know?
I think maybe that's why I like telling everyone what my plan is constantly, is like assuming that everybody, exactly what we said at the very beginning of like assuming everybody else will be responsible because I said it aloud. And it's like, no, Ellie, you were just, no one, like that's not how it works. Because
you just stayed out, so now you're out.
Yeah.
No, I do the exact same thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going on a bike ride tomorrow, so like I'm not going to stay out late. Fast forward 5 hours, and I am not going on a bike ride the next day because I'm not well.
Yeah. I also think too, like, I've just really been trying to like say what's on my mind. I have walked away from so many situations, whether like at work, with friends, dating, whatever, where I'm like, I didn't really mean what I said, or I didn't say how I felt in that moment. And I've just been kind of like looking and watching other people that I look up to, or I like the way that they kind of just like walk through the world, and a lot of the times they kind of just say whatever it is right then and there, and they don't let it drag on. And so even now, like, I'm really trying to practice that, and it is difficult because I recognize those situations for being difficult, that I don't want to take an aggressive tone. But a lot of the times it's like, once you have that in your brain of just like, just say what you feel. Like, I can be mean, but I'm not a mean person. I don't walk around, I say this and I'm like, fuck, I really hope that this is true. Shit. But I'm like, my intention most of the time is not to be mean. And so if I am just speaking how I normally speak and saying how I feel in that moment, one, it is better practice for me. And two, I find that I am more confident because I don't walk away being like, what? Like, I didn't, who was that? Because that wasn't me. And then that wasn't how I feel or who I really am. And now it's like I'm laying in bed overplaying the social situation over and over and over again because it went one way and it should have gone another way. And I think that it pertains to this conversation because it's just like, yeah, just practicing literally how my body feels in this moment. Like, pretty recent example is I work with someone who is so passive aggressive and is just really this quite dark cloud. And a lot of the times I think all of us, if you listen and you work where I work, can relate, take a more passive role because it's just easier. But I don't give a fuck. And I am like really trying to be like, okay, well, this is my job and I respect you because you are who I work for. However, I am a human being and I have boundaries even within this workplace. And I respect myself not only as an employee here, but also as a leader of other people at this establishment. And so really just like speaking up for myself, not being mean, not being disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, but in situations where another person is coming at me, even an employee or another employee, just like there are multiple times where I've like kind of did like, okay, sure, but in my mind I'm like, but that's not what happened. Like, clearly state what the issue is so that we can work past that. And it was a situation where they had stopped me because of they were trying to get to the bottom of something and I was trying to go help another customer, and so I had walked away and we came back and I could tell that there was a little bit of a feeling of whatever, they didn't get their point across, but I am only in charge of myself, so I kind of called it out. I was just like, is everything okay? What happened? And then they were able to express how they felt, in my opinion, not super clear. And then I was able to, instead of just like not rock the boat, say how I felt. Well, whatever. I don't need to get into the like logistics of it all, but I really was just like, I'm not going to walk away from the situation, but I also can use this opportunity to be respectful and also be like, well, that's my boundary. This is why I did this. And I think that in that moment, it was received well because we got past it, and I also did not have to think about that situation ever again, obviously besides now. And I just really, like, I was proud of myself in that moment because there has been similar situations where I'm like, I'm just not going to say anything. It's not worth it. But I'm like, it is worth it, and it's a perfect opportunity, especially in the workplace. Not that I'm saying go, like, go tell everyone how you feel at work, but I think using a workplace where you do have to be respectful and also want to keep your job to practice this is helpful because it kind of, you're limited to where you can go and how you can speak anyway. And you're already in that mindset of like professionalism almost. And so I don't know. just hearing us talk about it, I'm like, damn, okay. There has been times that I can do it.
Yeah. I think it can be easier, maybe not easier, but like, when there's not so many emotions involved with the person, because it's like, I don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, truly.
So I'm going to say what I need or how I feel or what I think, and hopefully do it in an assertive and not aggressive way. But when you were explaining that story, I think this is my final thought, and then I'll shut up. It's kind of what we talked about in the beginning of like, how am I reacting when someone's expressing their boundaries, and how is someone else reacting when I'm expressing mine? And I was kind of alluding to that being like a fear of like, well, what if they say this or what if they say that? And it's like, do I want to be around someone that is not going to listen to me when I've said no or yes or like whatever, this is what I need, this is what I want? And I think you can be like, hey, no, like I said, this is what I need. And then they do it again and it's like, okay, you clearly aren't listening. I'm not going to like have this relationship with you because you don't respect me and what I need and what I say. And like, that is scary. That's like scary to me to be like, all right, I'm like cutting it off. I'm like, it's done because you clearly aren't like, that's a you issue. And I think that's why I don't even get into those situations because I'm like scared to even have to navigate that, to be like so assertive and confident as like, no, I said this, do not ask me again. And that's not aggressive. That's literally you asserting yourself in this situation. And I think that my mind for so long has associated that as being like mean. Yeah. When it's not. No. It's literally not. And like, I also need to recognize when someone else is doing that. I think about like drinking, and I don't think the people that we hang out with are like this, but if I'm like, oh, I'm not drinking tonight, and then they're like, come on, have a shot, and then I'm like, no, I'm not drinking, and then again it happens, it's like, I literally said I'm not drinking. So listen. But I don't think I've really had that situation because I feel like most people, when I say that, are receptive and they're like, okay, whatever. But it's like, if that didn't happen, then I would need to be like, literally stop. I said that I'm not doing this. And I think that translates into other things as well, that I just need to try to do it.
Yeah. I understand completely. I think it's just like really kind of figuring out what your boundaries are. And I think speaking about like my confidence too, of just like really owning that and being okay with who you are and your values and things like that, so that you can confidently walk through life, not passively and not aggressively either. Yeah. I don't really want to be aggressive, and I don't want to get to the point where I have to be aggressive. And it's just a matter of practicing. And I think just like, you know, now that I just had that example of like the workspace of like, especially since I'm about to go to work, of just like really respecting myself and making sure that, one, I'm not jumping a million miles ahead. I don't need to be thinking about what the other person is going to say because I cannot predict the future. And I think so many of us are so similar where we don't want to rock the boat and no one really wants to be rude or disrespectful. So if you are coming up and being respectful but also being assertive and laying down, like, they're gonna match most of the time. And I think remembering that, and I don't know, just little practices like that. And I think for me, just hearing this too in relation to listening to my body and how I feel in that moment of just like, oh, should I take this opportunity to kind of step out and be a little uncomfortable and say something that's not passive and respect myself and my feelings and say whatever it is. And I don't know, go from there.
Yeah. I love it.
Me too. This is great.
This was really helpful. Guys, say what you need. Say what you want. And if the person doesn't listen that you're saying it to, then they're not meant for you. And I know that's easier said than done, but
truly.
Good practice.
I say that's my boss. You're not.
Yeah, honestly though, I
mean, we've all been there.
We've all been there. And I do think that's why I left a job that I had prior, because I was like, I was probably being very passive and not actually saying clearly what I needed. I do think it got to a point where I was like, no. And then that I'd already not ever set boundaries. So they were like, what?
We don't know that word.
But I think sometimes it's like, this is a toxic work environment, and I am being assertive in what I need, and that's not being heard. So
adios.
So bye. I guess I'll be poor.
Yeah.
All right, that's a topic for next week. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our jobs. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Fly to Spec Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.